An apparition of our Blessed Mother, tremendous persecution from outside and even within the local church, ultimate grace, joy, and peace. That's the drama of Our Lady's apparitions at Lipa, Philippines. Hello and welcome to Marycast. This is Dr. Mark Miravalle, Professor of Theology and Mariology at the Franciscan University of Steubenville. And we're talking about the Marian apparitions in Lipa, Philippines. I am dressed in the traditional Filipino barong, as was given to me as a gift in my recent trip to the Philippines. And we have the statue of Our Lady of Lipa, Mediatrix of All Graces, next to us, as well as one of the rose petals that was miraculously descended upon the apparition site, given to me by an archbishop during my trip. I want to finish the account of what takes place at the end of these apparitions. You're talking about 19 apparitions in 1948. At the end of the apparitions, you have a prophetic message of great grace and also great persecution. And my gosh, was that to come true for the visionary Teresita and also the Sisters of Lipa. Let me complete the narrative for you here, and then we'll talk about what takes place. Two of the messages that take place at the end of these apparitions are as follows. Our Blessed Mother, as Mediatrix of All Grace, states, quote, "Pray, my child. The people do not heed my words. Tell my daughters that there will be persecutions, unrest, and bloodshed in your country. The enemy of the church will try to destroy the faith which Jesus established and died for. The church will suffer much. Pray for the conversion of sinners throughout the world. Pray for those who rejected me and those who do not believe or trust me. Spread the meaning of the rosary, because this will be the instrument for peace throughout the world. Tell the people that the rosary must be said with devotion. Propagate the devotion of my Immaculate Heart. Do penance for priests and nuns. Be not afraid, for the love of my Son will soften the hardest of hearts, and my motherly love will be their strength to crush the enemies of God. What I ask here is the same I asked in Fatima. Tell the sisters that I ask them to pray and help spread my devotion and to do penance for those who do not believe. These things may now be revealed. This is my last apparition in this spot." End quote. Blessing her chosen one and the community assembled, Mary, Mediatrix of All Graces, vanished. Now, I've got to fill in some of the intense drama that happens from that point onward. For the next approximate 2 years, you have this spreading of the apparitions, the message, and even the rose petals that are miraculously strewn from heaven throughout the world. Miracle upon miracle upon miracle take place in the Philippines, in Europe. A documented case happened in Washington, D.C. with a total miraculous instantaneous cure of people in all of these places. You had tens of thousands coming to Lipa in dedication and in reverence of Our Lady, Mediatrix of All Grace. Truly, it was the honeymoon stage of the apparitions of Lipa. And the 5 continents heard about the wonders and experienced to some degree at least a taste of the generosity of the Mediatrix of All Graces. Now, in the title at Lipa, it's Mediatrix of All Grace, and I want to make a brief explanation here. Mediatrix of All Grace is absolutely a legitimate and valid theological title, as is Mediatrix of All Graces. Both are valid. Grace, remember, is a quality of the soul. So we can say Mary's Mediatrix of All Grace in that each and every grace, which is a greater participation in the life and the love of the Trinity, that's what sanctifying grace is given to us through the intercession of our Blessed Mother. This was the powerful message of Pope Benedict XVI on May 11th, 2007, with the canonization of a Franciscan Brazilian priest, when the Holy Father said, "Every grace that we receive comes to us through the Virgin Mary, that we receive no grace except through the necessary mediation of Mary." So that is Mediatrix of All Grace in its fullness. Now, what was to take place after this honeymoon period? Well, unfortunately, and here I have to convey some things of the human side of members of the church. Remember, The church is the spotless bride of Jesus Christ, but insofar as I am a sinner, and I truly am, and insofar as you experience sin, we take away the dignity of the spotless bride. Well, events like this did take place in the Philippines. You had really an in-church persecution of the visionary and of the very prayerful and beautiful sisters in Lipa. To summarize, there appears to have been a Vatican delegate or legate, we'll just use the general, and he came and under the penalty, under the threat of excommunication, he threatened several of the bishops of the Philippines to write a negative judgment on the apparitions, while there was no authentic investigation, and as many of these bishops themselves admitted on their deathbeds, they believed in the apparitions, and they were forced under the penalty of excommunication to sign a negative statement. It almost sounds unbelievable, but unfortunately, in this case, it is true, and we have the written documentations of several of the bishops that did this based on the pressure of a Vatican legate. Now, what takes place in the process is there is the immediate removal of Mother Cecilia, who was the prioress. Now, I mentioned in the first segment that Our Lady had asked that the visionary Teresita would wash the feet of the Mother Prioress and then drink the water, and Our Lady said it would be a means to unite the two of them for this special mission. Well, soon after the novice was receiving these apparitions, the prioress was getting interlocutions of Our Lady, which would confirm and even anticipate the time of the apparition and some of the events that took place at the apparition. Obviously, heaven knew that this persecution would need the two of these people as real victims for these apparitions to work together. So, soon after this Roman legate came and caused terrible harm, sadly, the Mother Superior was given a half an hour to pack her bags, to leave Lipa, and for over 20 years she was banished from Lipa and was not allowed to return, nor was she even allowed to be part of a community member at the other Carmel. She couldn't do the office. She was basically condemned to living in the kitchen. This sounds very difficult for us to hear now, in the post-Vatican II era, but sadly this is what took place. The visionary was actually brought to Manila, was in the company of a psychiatrist who literally threw an ashtray at her to try to force her to sign a document that this was all a hoax. The visionary, Sister Teresita, refused to do so, although there was great tears and great stress. And later in 1950, she was advised by another Carmelite superior to leave voluntarily so that she could return. She had a very difficult physical condition, a medical condition as well. Well, because the medical condition lasted for several years, Sister Teresita was never to return to the Carmel, and she had to continue in faith in testifying to these apparitions, although for a period of almost 40 years she said nothing about these apparitions. Now, and on September 12th of 2009, she was requested by the Archbishop to be present as yet another sign of reparation through the way she was treated by some in the past. And now the full message and the power of Our Lady of Lipa is coming forward. We're going to have one final segment on the power of Lipa and what took place in this message, and why, even though there was a tremendous suffering, tremendous cross and persecution, the graces of Lipa are now being experienced. Stay with us for our last segment. This is Mark Miravalle with Marycast saying thank you and God bless you.